Troy, thanks for taking the time to join us on the podcast.
Thanks.
Excellent. Would you like to introduce yourself, your name and what's your position title at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Troy. I'm the Senior Pre-Sales Consultant with My Recruitment Plus.
Excellent. Alicia, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Alicia and I'm a content creator at My Recruitment Plus.
Excellent. Troy, the reason you're here is because, as I understand, you were a client before you became working at My Recruitment Plus. Can you speak quickly just about that, who the client were, the industry, where were you based?
Yeah, absolutely. So I worked for an aged care provider called Australian Regional Remote Community Services in Darwin, in Northern Territory. So we're a large organisation, around 700 staff across the NT. We predominantly played in both sectors of aged care, disability support and childcare services. So,
Excellent.
yeah, quite a large organisation for the region we're in.
Excellent. And you were a user, therefore, and the key user, what we call the owner of the account.
Absolutely.
At that organisation for about 6 months. Is that right?
Yeah, so we implemented My Recruitment Plus. It was around 8 months ago, so with a different provider, and then chose to change to My Recruitment Plus.
Okay, fantastic. So the reason you're here on this podcast and the reason why Alicia is here is because Alicia in marketing, clearly the marketing team tries to illustrate the value proposition of the platform to HR leaders and HR teams. And I thought it would be very insightful for Alicia to hear from yourself as an ex-user what the platform really meant for you. Why don't we focus it on the so-called life-changing moments or features? Yeah. What are those, let's say 5? We can just focus on that, just keep the whole chat a bit more niche and focused, I guess. From your point of view and your team's point of view, let's see what were those life-changing moments or features in My Recruitment Plus.
Absolutely. So our biggest one was the manual administration. So I had a team of 4 that was underneath me, and at that time they were spending days, if not weeks, actually doing the recruitment. So it was very manual originally. The provider that we used had a very kind of dysfunctional system, so it went from an onboarding platform to a recruitment platform. So the biggest things I think that we found was of great benefit is just the click and point type solution that My Recruitment Plus has. So we're able just to click on an onboard pack and send that out very quickly. We're able to canvas and screen people really quickly as well. And even from the candidate view, that was one of our biggest things, dealing with a range of people that were, English as a second language was a high volume of our applicants as well, including applicants that were coming from interstate to come and enjoy the Northern Territory. So we wanted a platform that was able to find those features and to be real ease of use. So they were the main factors that we really moved on. And I think the other thing being a client as well is the agility of the system. So originally we were only looking for an onboarding and a recruitment platform, and we were able to find other features around managing our compliance, sending out e-forms. So that I guess a lot of other systems don't have that customization. So, and that's the fantastic side that we found. Yeah.
Okay. So you've touched on a few points here. You talked about is that how you see it, Alicia? There's about probably 3 points covered here. Do you want to just make sure you understand them, go through them, see if we can separate them? 1, 2, 3 kind of thing.
So you talked a lot about the usability. So not just for candidates, but for obviously your managers and you and just all the users, which is huge, because I feel like a lot of people say that a lot of platforms focus on one or the other.
That's really true.
Yeah. And then you talked about
the automation kind of thing we started, but then agility is interesting. That caught me by surprise. My brain going 100 miles an hour trying to understand what that meant. I guess he's saying we thought it's going to be only doing that, but we were able to turn it around pretty quickly and do other things that we didn't even thought it would do. Is that what you meant with the agility?
That's exactly right. So I think
interesting.
One of the things like we found when we were coming in, COVID-19, so getting people's vaccination information, we thought that would be an email out to all of our staff and waiting for all of that information to come back. But one of the great features we're able to use is actually create an e-form and email it out to everyone. So the bulk sending ability. So we didn't really think about that.
What did the e-form do? What was the purpose of the e-form?
Yeah, so the e-form was to gather that information. So not just the person's, whether you're vaccinated or not, it actually allowed them to then upload a copy of their COVID-19 certificate
as well,
and also put the compliance information in there. So we didn't have to run around or type that information into our HRS that we were using. So it was a really, really great automation to have.
And then you were able, because that comes in automatically and becomes searchable, you were able to create a filter, I guess, show me the people who aren't vaccinated or vaccinated.
And it really helped in that model as well. And we use that for a lot. Like aged care has really heavy compliance. So we're able to do that with our Working with Children card.
Yeah.
We're able to do it with our police checks. So there was a whole range of different compliance items.
Did we just discover a new narrative, a new word or value proposition that we've never marketed before, just in 2 minutes in this interview? Agility.
Yeah.
We've never discussed that. We've never talked to people about the agility. It's the perfect word. Agile, to be turned around and made do things differently. And we talk customization, but we never perceive it as an agile or part of an agility of that platform.
Absolutely. I think, and the agility is probably the right word, because you, as a HR professional, you're coming in thinking that you're just getting, this is a solution between these two goalposts. But I guess, not having to pay for huge development costs to have these customizations, and being the end user, being able to actually make those, send those and get them out.
This guy is 10 years ahead of us. He should be the head of marketing.
Definitely.
Now I think I got my head around this. Let me see if I can explain. So one thing is to say, oh, look, this is customizable. But the real thing is how many years it's going to take us to customize the damn thing. Like what the SAP of the world, you hire developers to the tune of $5,000 a day.
That's exactly right.
And months later. So what you're saying is, it is customizable, but it quickly customizable. It's very agile. I can turn around quickly to do other things.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't have to be a professional doing it.
No, not at all. So I had people and culture officers, so coming into our organisation, and it was easy for them. And you think of people at that level are administrative, they've been through uni, or even if they've not, we had people at all different age demographics as part of my team as well that were able to quickly grasp the system, adding a question, removing a question, creating a form. So it's really not a hard process to do all of that in the system.
Interesting. That should be a topic in its own. Next podcast should be just on agility. It's really fascinating. We sort of are aware of it. We sort of target it somehow from different angles, but that agility, the way to describe it that way is really, really fantastic. It's really interesting.
And I think it's interesting how you put it, because we label so many things that we do, but within those labels, there's so much more you can do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And some people might think the labels are polarizing, but there's so much more.
It almost goes back to that old adage of if people find a way, they'll do it. And I think, with how COVID-19 responded and that as well, it's HR people getting out there saying, right, what else can the system do? Or this function works, maybe we can use it for that. So it's really, being creative with that out-of-the-box solution.
Okay, so what else? We talked a few things so far in agility and all that. What would be a feature that was really, you've used it, guys, so much, that was just incredible, the value that it's added to that business?
Absolutely. Digital sending is probably our biggest one. So in our business, it was very paper heavy. So when I first come into the organisation, so moving everything into that digital era, sending out approvals through an email that, a manager can get on their phone on the go and just quickly approve. So that was something that turned around our approval times from maybe waiting 4 to 5 days and getting that information back to being approved on the same day or by that evening by senior managers that are, they're busy, they've got operational stuff that needs to be done. So that was a really big area for us as well. As well as canvassing applicants. I think that's another area. Like, you've got a really great portal within My Recruitment Plus to be able to look at the candidates that are going to give value to the organisation, those people that apply all the time that may not suit the organisational needs. You're able to filter those candidates in all those different areas as well. Talent pooling was a great one in the age care.
How do you use the talent pooling in your case?
So the talent communities that we built were for the different areas of the business. So since our community service section would have a school nutrition program, we would have a childcare centre, we would have disability support as well as in-home support as well. So all of those different areas were able to segregate candidates into those pools, and if we didn't have a vacancy, then we would have a pool of people to go to. So that was really saving us the cost of advertising on some of the big platforms out there.
And the old recruitment systems, the guy, when the whole concept of talent pools or talent communities started, they used to, it's just a flag on a record, meaning it's hard-coded in a sense. So, for example, if you wanted to separate, sorry, what were the examples? Give me a couple of the different talent pools. What were they?
Yeah, so
the
we have them
divisions in your
for
business?
so a school nutrition program. We also have it for disability support,
Yep.
in-home care. So all different
Okay.
sections of our
Sure.
business.
So, what's interesting about it is, you know, when you've got the talent pool, if it's just, for example, for all the in-house, did you say in-house support?
Yes.
At home support, yeah. You bring those guys in-house for the that you've flagged them to be good candidates, good potential for at-home support. That's great. But when you start to go, oh, I need someone who's in that particular region, you can then filter further based on the location.
Absolutely.
The older recruitment systems didn't have that flexibility. Everything had to be contained in that talent pool. When you search on talent pools, the talent pool have to give you all the information you need. And therefore, you ended up with thousands of talent pools. It's not enough to just say all the guys that are great potential for at-home support. You had to say, oh, in Brisbane or in Darwin or in a remote area. Absolutely. All the information had to be there. So it became really quite messy and a nightmare, the talent pool system.
I do remember that from other recruitment platforms that I've used as well. I think the best thing with ours is the regional location. So in the candidate management section of the system, you were able to search those different unique areas. So if you wanted someone that had maybe a disability certificate 3 or maybe someone that's got a disability certificate 4, so you want someone with more senior experience, you could search those fields as well.
Someone in that talent pool, in that region, and have that certificate.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you can niche it out as you need to, as opposed to all that information being part of the talent pool. And you can see the variety of how many you're going to need and why it became like a zoo in the previous systems.
It really becomes your selection list, really. You don't need to go through your shortlist process to every applicant that's applied. You can go through your talent pools and say, these are the things that I need. There's your shortlist straight away of people that are all available and looking for that.
Yeah. It's amazing. In terms of the onboarding, can you think of one thing that you go when you discovered maybe during the demo, the initial pre-sales process you didn't know about, and after the platform was up and running, you came across, you go, oh my God, this is amazing. Can you think of any example?
I'm going to say the automation. So we used to spend a lot of time sending out, those emails to IT saying, please set up this person, or those emails to payroll saying, here's the new starter and here's their paperwork. So automations was a huge win for us that we didn't really realise was part of the system.
Right. One of these bonuses,
Absolutely. And to know that it was simple to just hit the automation button, select where you would like to send that information, and then attach the documents from the onboarding process was really quick. I guess on the back of that, we then had the automation where we could directly push that into our payroll system in the future as well. So we had a really great opportunity in both of those settings, using it in the initial stages, just with pushing paperwork through, and then secondly, pushing it out into the platform that we use for payroll. So I think that was a fantastic feature. And time. Like the onboarding packs, you can get a candidate pack back within 24 hours, same day if they're really savvy and onto it.
That's amazing. Last question, but before I ask my last question, do you need any clarification or do you have some follow-up question to what we discussed so far?
So obviously I recently had to do one of those onboarding packs as well. Did you have really great feedback from your team?
Absolutely.
When they were starting?
Absolutely. I think from that, the older process, the older HR process, you've got those candidate presentation packs and they've got all the printed forms in them. That used to be the day in the life of HR that I worked with. So going to this digital setting where you've got it on your mobile phone, your iPad, a computer, and you can click and complete all of that information. Our candidates absolutely loved it. It also stopped, you'd find this from time to time in HR, people miss questions or they don't answer key information like banking details and also tax file number details. So having that all built in as the pack and making them all required fields, people can't miss those processes. So for a HR professional, that's life-saving. So it stops the chase and the follow-up.
As an HR person, that's follow-up to the follow-up. Actually, I'm following up on this question. I've asked Alicia to do some research and write a blog about this point, about why somehow we know, but we don't know why. We know that potential employees, candidates/employees, when they receive a beautiful technology to onboard themselves, like Micro Plus, as opposed to the old stuff, somehow they feel positively about that new employer.
Absolutely.
And I asked Alicia to research why. What's the psychology behind it? And some of the things that we found, Alicia, maybe you speak to, was the fact that they feel that their time is valued. Is that right? Do you remember a couple of those?
Absolutely. People feel that their time is valued because you're not giving them hours of paperwork to do and they're not getting paid for it. Like, who wants to sit at home when they've probably got another job and fill out mountains of paperwork that half the time don't even make sense? I know that tax file form, I've never understood it in my life looking at it. But if you go onto the computer or your phone and you can just do that in seconds, you're like, wow, this company actually appreciates me.
Absolutely.
And my time. And then we also found that it's to do with that first impression that you're making.
Yep.
And it just helps throughout your process with the employee.
Can you speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your understanding from you as a HR leader, but also from the candidates that you might have spoken with?
Absolutely. So the candidates we spoke to when we implemented My Recruitment Plus, the onboarding module, I guess we probably didn't also realise the customisation of the packs that go out. So you can brand it with your logo, you can put a background, which is like your standard organisation may use. And it's that kind of stuff as well, I think, which people have linkage with the organisation, rather than just like, a plain blank pack with no logos or information. You just get all the forms to fill out. The one thing that absolutely we found is in Northern Territory, we have a lot of people that work 2 or 3 different jobs. So high casual workforce as well. So to have that on the go and be able to complete the information on the go, that usability is absolutely a feature that worked to our favour. Because we often would stall sometimes on getting people to come in to do paperwork prior to having the system. So having that they could do it whenever they wanted to, complete all the basic information and then learn a little bit about the organisation rather than doing the whole day inductions, I think that was a great feature to have as part of our company.
Last question, as I said, I was going to ask. That was a follow-up question, right? It wasn't my question. Okay. So last question. We talked about features, if I could use the word tangible features so far, things that you do, features. Why don't we talk about you as a decision maker to acquire Micro Plus into the organisation that you're working for? Other than features, tangible stuff, what was it about the company or the sales team, pre-sales team, that made you feel comfortable and trusting these guys will deliver what they're promising? I can work with these guys. I like these guys. Non-tangible stuff that you really liked about the company.
Absolutely. So we had 3 different product demos before moving to My Recruitment Plus with other providers, so some well-known brands. The bit that stood out about My Recruitment Plus at the time was the sales lead, Janine. So she was fantastic. Loved her job title, the Woman of Action, because that's 100% what we got at the time. Like the information that we needed, the information for IT, everything through the demonstration, it was for the end user. It wasn't just a tech developer that was saying this is everything the system would do. It was actually someone that has utilised the system and could understand from a HR setting what we would need. So if I use that as the comparative, when I did the other software demonstration saying, well, which provider are we going to use? It was My Recruitment Plus that stood out for that reason, because you've actually got someone that understands what we need at the end of the day, rather than just the kind of sales and sell that you would get from
And funnily enough, that's your job right now, to work with Janine to make sure those HR folks feel that you know what they're going through and what they need, because you've had that experience. You are an HR person and all that. Isn't that interesting? A full cycle.
It has been.
Very interesting. Mate, thank you very much for your time, and thank you, Alicia.
My pleasure.
And to you folks, if you like the content for today's, please don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you at the next podcast. Thank you. Cheers, guys.